Jihad Radio here on American Freedom Radio. I'm Kevin Barrett. I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, finding important voices that need to be heard. And, well, nobody, I think, really deserves a hearing more than today's first hour guest, Richard Falk. He is the UN Special Human Rights Rapporteur for the Palestinian Territories. He has been savaged by the usual suspects for his truthful descriptions of what's really going on in the Middle East. He's endorsed David Ray Griffin's work on 9/11 and taken a lot of heat for that as well. And, well, most recently, he has visited Lebanon on the eve of what looks like a possible major escalation of the war in Syria and a possible spillover into Lebanon. And he's really one of the most important people that we could ever possibly listen to today concerning these very disturbing events. So let's listen to him, not me. Welcome, Richard. How are you?
Good to be with you again, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for coming back on. You must be one of the people doing the very best work around, judging from the kind of criticism you get.
Well, judging by the criticism, I suppose that's correct. I mean, I've tried to be as honest as possible about issues that the mainstream presents to the American people in a distorted form.
This is Truth Jihad Radio. Kevin Barrett here talking with Richard Falk, one of my favorite periodic radio guests. And Richard, the recent attacks on you, I thought, were unusual, even by the standard of the usual suspects, in being over-the-top mendacious. I mean, they basically took some comments you made about, well, these Boston terror attacks, indicate something about there are people with grievances, which is, geez, this is pretty much the standard mainstream line. And they tried to twist that into lumping you with those of us who are actually questioning whether the Boston bombings might not be another false flag attack, which isn't what you said at all. But maybe it should have been, given that I don't know if you've been following what's been happening to these important witnesses, but the FBI apparently just did an execution-style murder of a key witness in this case. It was like 7 shots to the body and then 1 in the head to finish him off while he was in FBI custody, and 2 other FBI agents who arrested Tamerlan Sotorov, who appears to have a long history with U.S.-involved terrorism in Chechnya, or at least connections through CIA people linked to those groups. The 2 FBI agents who were there when he was killed, apparently after he was arrested unarmed and naked, and then he was just butchered while in custody, the FBI agents who butchered him, quote-unquote, just fell out of a helicopter. I mean, this is just I could go on like this for a long time, but I'm sure you know what I'm saying, that there are all kinds of unanswered questions about Boston, just as there are about 9/11. And you never even said anything like this, and yet these neocon crazies tried to make you out to be a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist for actually saying something very mainstream. The world is getting very strange, isn't it?
Yes, it's a tactic, I think, of this ultra-Zionist groups that are intent on discrediting anything I have to say about the Israeli occupation of Palestine, and they find it that there's a kind of resonance in relatively prominent places if they attack me along the lines you suggest. And as you probably know, I was in response to this series of defamatory attacks. Fox News devoted a whole program to discrediting me in a rather ugly and nasty way, and the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, tweeted a very hostile comment saying that she wished I could be dismissed, and even Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General, issued a statement denouncing my efforts to comment on current issues.
And what's so strange about this is that your comments about Boston are pretty much what anybody, to the left of Jimmy Carter would say. They had to completely lie about your position in order to make this kind of attack. How can we actually be public intellectuals in an environment this full of lies and distortions?
Well, it's a good question. There's no doubt that what you say is certainly true for part of the environment. I mean, not all of the in public space is dominated at this point by that kind of neocon Fox News sort of perspective, but enough of it is to create a real danger of fascist potential in this country. And all we can do is to oppose it to the best of our ability, depending on where we are, what we do, what access we have. And I'm trying. There is a meeting in Geneva in 10 days or so where this UN Watch, the Zionist organization, is trying to introduce a resolution to have me dismissed from my UN position. And if the U.S. government or Canada agrees to sponsor such a resolution, then I'd have to confront that directly in the course of the meeting. My own initiative is to question the credentials of this supposed NGO that does no substantive work and spends all its time mounting smear with smear campaigns directed at people like myself.
That's right. So-called UN Watch is just pretty much a hate blog. It's kind of like Jew Watch and these other watch groups that are designed to just throw negative stuff at somebody. And in this case, I guess UN Watch just throws defamatory material at anybody who stands up for the Zionists.
Exactly, and anyone that is critical of Israel, and they try to play the anti-Semitism card, so immediately when you're a critic of Israel, particularly if you have a formal role such as mine, you're denounced as a virulent anti-Semite at the same, which of course is completely false from any number of perspectives.
Well, I would question whether people who are so adamantly opposed to hearing anyone question 9/11 as to launch these kinds of grotesque and extreme attacks on you. And you've actually questioned 9/11 pretty gently, really, although you've supported David Ray Griffin strongly. But this is the position of 80% of the world's Muslims, according to a long series of scientific polls from the day it happened up until today. The numbers are clear. It's inconsistent. About 80% of the world's Muslims, and I'm one of them, view 9/11 as a false flag attack designed to launch a war on Islam. And that perspective is being systematically suppressed. The public is not even being allowed to know that about half the world and 80% of the world's Muslims think this. And if you even open your mouth on this issue, it seems that they start throwing things at you. How can we change the situation so that the more than 1 billion Muslims in the world who are convinced that 9/11 was a false flag attack will actually be listened to? I'm not saying necessarily agreed with, but just let's hear their perspective.
Well, I think that this sort of patient effort to tell the truth and to get more and more people that are willing to say at least that they're important unanswered questions that deserve a response, that the official version has unacceptable gaps in it. And I think David Griffin's work was essential in documenting that contention that there are unanswered questions, that the American people and the world, for that matter, deserve answers to these questions, that the 9/11 Commission didn't address those issues, and that we must continue happen on 9/11.
I absolutely agree. And I wonder if there's a way to, the other side keeps saying that one is a bigot and a marginalized fool for questioning 9/11. In other words, they're saying that you have to say that Muslims did it, or else you're a bigot or you're crazy. Is there a way that maybe, given the fact that 4 out of 5 Muslims say it was an inside job, that we can approach this from a human rights perspective in saying that it's Islamophobic to accept the official story without questioning?
You can certainly argue that. I mean, it's in the climate of opinion that prevails in the U.S., as you know, probably better than I, it's questioning that deeply the official version of 9/11 does touch the third rail of American political sensitivities, and there is an attempt to discredit and destroy anyone that does make such a bold statement. And this has intimidated lots of people and makes people more reluctant than they might otherwise be to raise these suspicions about how to understand that transformative event that has been used to project American power around the world and to engage in these very destructive, dysfunctional wars, Iraq and Afghanistan being the main examples.
And I think if one judges by what the bad guys feel they need to try to suppress, that is, who is getting intimidated, whose careers are they destroying, who are they coming after, I think that the targets are usually the people that they find the most dangerous. And again, that's why, Richard Falk, I admire your work so much, and I think that you're one of the most effective people fighting the good fight today, which is why they've come after you so much. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you for the interview.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I look forward to another one sometime. Good.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. That's Richard Falk, Professor Emeritus at Princeton University and Special UN Human Rights Rapporteur. I can't wait to see the headline in the New York Sun or New York Post, one of those Zionist rags tomorrow. Oh, boy, Richard Falk came back on Kevin Barrett's radio show. What a terrible, terrible man. Yikes. Okay, next hour we're coming up with art historian Klaus Dona, who's got a lot of controversial things to say about out-of-place human artifacts. Stick around for